Afternoons with Sophie Formica.
Well, I know you will when I say, do you remember this classic TV theme? Wasn't it also what everybody had to learn to play on the piano after that came out? If you instantly recognise the theme to a country practice and it's bringing back some lovely memories for you, then you'll be thrilled in particular to hear from my next guest. Shane Porteous played Dr. Terence Elliott in the much-loved Channel 7 series from 1981 through to 1993, and he's joining me now on Afternoons. Good afternoon to you, Shane.
Good afternoon, Sophie.
Do you love hearing that theme as much as everyone else, or do you get a little jittery?
I don't listen to it all that often, but it was lovely to hear it.
I've got to say, the love for your character certainly hasn't waned over time. Dr. Terence Elliott was certainly a favourite. Do you still get recognised from people?
Occasionally. I look a fair bit different these days. I've got a white beard to start with, and my hair is totally white, where it was just grey in those days. Sometimes I do, but always with it's always a pleasant recognition.
Absolutely,
because of the kind of show it was, really.
For sure, and such great affection for all of the characters particularly when you play one for such a long period of time, Shane. You know, you change over that period of time and the audience grows older during that period of time. And I think that's why a show like Country Practice still means so much for the people who watched it for all of those years.
Yes, yeah. But also, the fact is that the Country Practice was extremely well written. There were really good stories, and there were current stories. There were issues that were going on for most people, and they were treated well, not just seriously, but also with humour. There was lots of humour in the show.
You talk about the writing, and I will talk to you some more about the acting that you've done over time, but then you also moved into doing things like being a layout artist on shows like Blinky Bill, and you were a long-time script writer yourself on other soaps, Home and Away, Neighbours. What was it like to be able to do that transition from being an actor on a show that, as you said, was so well written to then actually being one of the people who were forming storylines for other well-loved programs?
It was a great relief to have a job after being an actor and identified just so closely with the Country Practice for all those years as Dr. Terence Elliott. I was very worried that once the show was finished that I would not be employable as an actor for a while, and which is why I made the decision to try to break into writing. I started writing for a Country Practice, wrote 6 episodes for them, and thankfully there were a lot of the really good writers and producers, script producers on Country Practice moved on to shows like Neighbours and Home and Away, and I was able to pick up work on both those shows for the next nearly 20 years. Good 20 years.
We just said goodbye, obviously, to Neighbours and to all of the people who worked on the program, and it's a time to remind everyone of just how many people work on these programs. Yes, the actors are front and centre, and people fall in love with the characters and the storylines, but they support so many people.
Oh, yes. Huge backstage crews, huge writing teams, because they were doing 5 episodes a week and showing 5 episodes a week, usually a different writer for every episode, and they went through so many really good people writing these days got their start on Home and Away and Neighbours,
yes,
as the actors did.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a bit of a formula, Shane, to the success of these styles of shows, and is that changing over time?
Yeah, I don't. I think it would be very hard to start a show like Neighbours again these days. I think because styles of television filming are changing. People these days insist on more location shooting rather than studio, And yes, I think the formats have changed, and I don't know whether a long-running serial will ever get off the ground again. And Home and Away is still going, touch wood, and but I'm not sure that a new, for example, I don't think a country practice could be made again.
Well, not in the same way, but I do think that those storylines and the way it can pull people in to be a part of their world is something that we all can identify with, because you want to feel like you're getting this little sort of voyeuristic look into other people's lives, even if they are characters in a soap like that. And speaking of getting a look into people's lives, you're being profiled in the Women's Day magazine this week, and I read that you're working on several new projects. So clearly you're not you're not slowing down. There are things that you're still up to, including with John Wood from Blue Heelers on a new TV show.
Well, a possible new TV show. As far as I know at this stage, there isn't a producer or a producer attached. But John and other people are still working on scripts, and so it would be. It sounds like a lovely show. We've had a Zoom reading with actors from all over Australia taking part in the original few scripts that we read, and it was great fun, and I think it would make a very funny show, and so fingers crossed that one.
Well, absolutely, fingers crossed. That show is called Home to Roost, and another project you're working on is Look Out, Look Out. What's that about?
It's a show which is still being devised. It's a live action show set in the Blue Mountains, about the Blue Mountains where I live, and it's being written, created and written by Maggie Davis, who is a director and choreographer and actor herself, and together with about 3 or 4 others of us, and we're still in the workshop stage for this. We're having a workshop another workshop in November with a rehearsed reading for the public to look at, and I'm really enjoying that process.
Well, we're so looking forward to the fact that we'll see more production happening across the board. You know, we know here in Queensland we're so excited about the possibility of there being more film being made here. It's just great, Shane, that you're involved in the possibility of new projects, because that's what we want to have happen, that there's more opportunity for people who want to work in the industry to be able to get their foot in the door here in our country and not having to go overseas to do it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, and it is happening in regional areas too, which is really interesting. Yeah, people can make, because movies are, at a basic level, are so much easier to make these days. You can make them all with a phone, basically.
I was going to say, between the phone and computers, you're spot on. You can really, and they're also a finite period of time, where some of these other projects we're talking about can be things that roll over a long period of time. So there's a different sort of commitment moving into them. It's been so lovely to talk to you, and that beautiful part of the world that you live, the Blue Mountains. What's the weather like today?
It was fine this morning. It is clouding over now. Rain is forecast over the next couple of days, but it will clear for the weekend, they've promised us.
Oh, listen to you. It's not that different here, except we're likely to have a beautiful Saturday, but that's exactly what's happened here. This morning it was blue skies, now it's looking a little bit grey. Not a lot to complain about though, Shane Porteous, that's for sure. And of course, if you would like to read more about Shane's life and have a look at a few of the pickies as well, he's in this latest issue of Women's Day magazine. Shane, thank you so much for joining us on 4BC Afternoons.
It's been a pleasure, Sophie. Thank you for inviting me.
You take care. 17 minutes.